So this is Corsair's 275R, but this is the acrylic version. I'm sure you've seen a lot of reviews on the glass version, and there's some definite big differences in there that I think are worth discussing, and that's what we're gonna do. Now this is a perfect minimalist tower as far as I'm concerned. It comes with one 120 in the back, one 120 in the front, a place for two 120s on top, or one 140, and has some pretty neat features for such a cheap $69 tower. However, its $79 sibling seems to give you a little bit more than just a glass panel, and that's something I want to talk about in this video. Now, as I was mentioning, most of the reviews are done on the glass version. I specifically wanted the acrylic version for something I had planned. Whether I actually go through with that plan or not, I'm not sure. One of the purposes for wanting the acrylic version was if I wanted to do some light modding, some sanding effect and putting a logo on there, because I'm going to be turning this into a complete Gambius build with all their new stuff on the market, so keep your eyes out for that video. But to most people that may not matter. What I was dismayed to learn though is that we lose luxury features. The top dust filter that's found included on the glass version is not there. Rubber grommets inside that are included on the glass version are not here on this. Kind of makes you wonder why. There are some downsides that both the towers feature though, such as these Allen screw whatever technique thing that they went here. I didn't like this at all. In order to easily access this panel, the best way to do it is to lay it on its side and take those out. There's little rubber feet in there that kind of hold the Allen key, but they don't hold it very well, and that can be a problem too. As I took off this panel, most of those came out, and from watching other reviews, that seems to be a problem on most of them. It looks like there's an adhesive on there meant to hold them into place so that you're not constantly having to fight with them. Unfortunately, they pretty much all fall out. Now, Corsair may address that and fix it in future editions of this tower as it releases onto the market more. But as of right now, these are terrible. It's not easy to get into this tower, especially while it's standing up. There is a downside to that, or a big reason that's a downside, because when you don't have easy access, but you do have the ability, by the way, that Corsair included, which is really cool. One of the really cool things Corsair did do was to implement a way for you to do a vertical GPU mount. Now, it does come dangerously close to the panel, whether you do glass or acrylic, and why it's an extra bad idea on the acrylic version, I think, is because the acrylic is going to be a little more static. It's going to pick up dust. So then when you're going to have to take this off and clean it, you're going to have issues with micro scratches from wiping it on the inside. And over time, that just looks bad. Another area that Corsair fell short on, which it seems to be a trend with them, you know, the 570Xs that don't come with the power shroud cover. That was driving me crazy. The H150i didn't come with a TR4 socket compatibility because it's a new Asetek pump mount. And on this, they didn't include the riser cable for you. So while they kind of give you the ability to do that, and while that's something you can do pretty simply, I probably wouldn't recommend it just for how close it gets, and especially on the acrylic version, the kind of problems that you're gonna have or run into with dust building up right there, having to wipe it, the fact that it's just not easy to get into this tower, those are gonna be major problems that would probably sway a lot of people away from using the vertical mount. However, it's a good idea. The rest of the tower is great though. You have a giant cutout in the back that makes it really easy to mount anything. If you go ahead and put everything together and then you wanna mount something, a cooler, it's probably one of the easiest ones I've ever worked with. There's tons of places to tie down all of your cables in the back, plenty of basement room with a removable 2 hard disk drive cage if you didn't want that in there, wanted to stash extra things in there like USB extensions, fan hubs, things like that. And it's all nice and well hidden in a fully enclosed shroud, something that they missed on in other towers that I'll leave nameless. Some of the cool stuff too is the fact that they have these nice different feet. For such a more lower end of the budget spectrum, I think that these feet are actually really neat looking. They're these kind of nice accents, something I didn't expect to see on a tower like this. Usually you just kind of see them go with continuity of design and it would just be like black slats on the bottom that lifted the tower up. Well, they kind of went out of their way to give it that little accent while still keeping within that minimalist range, and that's something I did like. The front is a plastic, and you've probably seen this on most of them if you've watched any of the reviews on them, is a brushed plastic. While it looks aluminum, it is a brushed plastic. We also have a dust filter that's in the front, so at least that is included on this one still, where they missed things like the top dust filter that also just not only gave you a dust filter, but made the top look a whole lot nicer. On the front, you have two USB 3.0 inputs. You have your audio in and your audio out for your microphone or for your headphones, and a power button, as well as a reset button keeping in trends. Most people might repurpose this reset button to do something else. That's up to you guys, but it's there if you need it. In order to access the back panel, we have captive thumb screws. Captive thumb screws should be a must on any tower these days. We've come too far to be going back to that set them down and lose them thing anymore. In the front of the tower, there's a nice 3 LEDs. They're all white and they give a nice kind of glow, but if you don't want those, just skip over installing that part as far as connecting it or plugging it up. That's not something you have to have, and if you don't want that, you can always disable it to stay with that real clean minimalist feel. But if you wanted a little bit of white underglow, it's offered in the front of this tower, and it does look pretty nice. I think that it gives a nice accent. That can be found on both this version and on the glass version. So it was nice at least they didn't cut that part out, but I still would have liked something with a little more function rather than a light. I would have liked that filter. I would have liked rubber grommets inside. But again, we just don't have that here, which really kind of brings me to the part, I know I'm kind of ranting, but it brings me to the rant that talks about you're looking at $9.99 more for the glass version. You would think you would just be paying that much more for a glass panel over an acrylic panel. However, you're paying that much more and you're getting the glass panel grommets and dust filter that really just kind of add to the perfectness of this minimalist case. Now, if they would have only changed the way that this whole cover panel goes on, while it's a little more low profile than other renditions of it, I think that this was just a fail to me. I didn't like the way that this panel went on, and I'll make no bones about it. I think it's a terrible idea to do these weird Allen key wrench things that don't hold in there very well and basically are going to require you to actually lay the computer down on its side rather than just be able to kind of reach over and unscrew and sort of be able to get in there to access whatever you need to. Flop for me. Didn't like that. So guys, I'm not gonna hold you for too long on this one because I do have some plans for it. I'm actually about to start building some stuff in it right now. I got a whole bunch of things right here waiting on a couple things to come in. And this is gonna be pretty much a complete Gamdius build using their new Gamdius fans, using the new Gamdius AIO, using the new Gamdius Astrape power supply. We're gonna really kind of light this thing up and make it a Gamdius-centric build. So if you're interested in that, be sure and get subscribed and watch for that video to come out. I know I've been a little bit slow recently, got a couple things that I'm looking to do as well along the way, but hopefully it'll be something that if you need a guide, a more recent guide, then watch that. And trust me, I feel the pain for anybody that needs to buy GPUs or RAM right now. It's been a minute since I've done that, and I was sitting down looking and just thinking, holy crap, it's just out of control at the moment. They need some new ASIC cards to get the miners away from the GPUs. I really feel for people out there trying to build their first computer or upgrade to the next best thing, because it's not a friendly market right now. Real quick before I forget as well, you can install an SSD in 4 different places on the back here, 2 of which have captive thumb screws so that you can just easily put them on the tray and mount them in there. The other 2 you can mount the old-fashioned way right here on the back of the chassis itself. Anyways guys, that's really all I have to say about this. If I missed anything or you have any questions about it, something specifically you want to know, be sure and post down below and I'll get back with you. Have a great day, night, whatever it is. I'll see you in the next video that I do. I always forget to say something. And that's exactly what I did. I forgot to say this because I'm sure there's some people that are interested. Of course, Corsair was going to make sure that their new budget, even their budget implemented tower here, was going to be able to fit their brand new H150i. So if you were the proud owner of an H150i Pro RGB, you can actually put that in the front of this. This has support for a 360mm radiator, surprisingly as that may sound. Pretty cool. That's a big perk to it, I think, and I think that's really awesome. But I also think they would have been foolish to have made a new tower in the Carbide series that couldn't accommodate their brand new H150i. So if you were curious about that and wanted to know, hey, can it fit the H150i, or for that matter, any 360mm radiator, it can. Woo! Now I hope I'm done forgetting stuff.